It's good to be here this morning. I'm like George Burns. I just turned 78 last Monday. And he said, at my age, it's good to be anywhere. It's good to be here this morning. I'm one of the most blessed human beings you'll ever meet. I'm getting ready to run my 22nd half marathon, and I'm going to run with Betty's blessing. She doesn't want me to run my 4th marathon on my 80th birthday. So she's shaking her head no. So it's good to be here. Raised on a turkey farm, God's dumbest creature. I'll come back to that at the end of my presentation. But blessed and, got my bachelor's degree, became a teacher, got my master's degree, and became a principal and then a superintendent of schools. And then got my doctorate, and wish you could have met my mom. She's since passed away, but she's a classic farm wife. And somebody asked her one time, one of her old friends, she died when she was 88, said, "What kind of doctor is your son?" And she said, "He's the kind that can't do anything for you." So started on this journey. 1990, Betty and I bought the rights to RE/MAX, Alabama, Louisiana, and Mississippi. When we bought it, we inherited 4 offices and about 40 agents. And we sold it in 99. We had 1,000 agents and 100 offices throughout those 3 states. You can't make those kind of things happen. Just unbelievable. So in 94, I sold 25% of it to a guy in Kansas City, and I was supposed to stay on 5 years, and we were living in Jackson, Mississippi, 5 years as the CEO, and then he'd take it over when he bought it in 99. I don't know if you've ever worked with somebody or for somebody. You like them, but you just don't see eye to eye. You're just always constantly bumping heads. And so I went to him in January 94, and I said, "Why don't you pay me not to be the CEO? I'll just go home." And he did. And somebody said, "What's his name?" And he did a great job for us. And so in 94, 2 things happened. One, people started coming to me and saying, "You were just a stupid egghead professor. How'd you ever build a $3 billion company? And would you coach me? Would you teach me?" And then the second thing that happened was I got really fascinated why some people figure life out and others never do. Can you think of anybody that, they're not bad people, they just never figured it out? And so I started studying what I call successful people. So a little bit of my background is, there's my elementary school, the whole elementary school. 8 kids in the whole elementary school. I'm in the middle left, of course, right below the teacher, being the teacher's pet. And only one in my class for 8 years, graduated valedictorian, so I had that. So it's just an incredible journey. So met Betty in 1979, July the 1st, 1979. We got married in May. And so at that time, I'm at the University of Missouri. I'm the head of the 4-H program for the state of Missouri. We had 100,000 kids I was responsible for, 20,000 volunteers, a staff of 135. Good life. What's the best thing about being a tenured professor? I wasn't tenured, but professor at the university, at a major university. What's the best thing about it? You can't get fired. It's a really good job. So life was good. We had 6 kids between us and 3 in high school, 1 in high school and 3 in college. And one of my staff members came in, how one thing can change your life forever. Had a good life, good health and family and all that. But a guy came into my office, one of my 4-H agents, and threw a couple of cassette tapes on my desk, and he said, "Tom, you might enjoy these." And it's by a guy named Jim Rohn. I'd never heard of Jim Rohn, And Betty and I literally wore those tapes out. Wore them in 2. We listened to them at the summer of '84. And we sat down and said 2 things. One, these are our priorities. Spiritual is going to be number 1. Our health is going to be number 2. Number 3, our marriage, our relationship. Number 4 is emotional, our self-esteem, our sense of self-worth, our attitude. Number 5 is our professional life. And then number 6 was our financial life. And so we said, we're always going to live by these priorities. We don't care what happened. In other words, we put our health above our marriage, because if we don't take care of ourselves, we'll be a burden. And so we put our spiritual life number 1. So we made 2 decisions that summer. And Betty will vouch for this for sure. We said two things. We're always going to live with these priorities, and we're going to get rich. And didn't have a clue. Taught school for 26 years. So for 18 months, which is the magic number, those of you who know my presentation, Moore's Law, 18 months. We were in Atlanta, Georgia. Stopped to see a guy I'd gone to college with. He owned the rights to Remax of Georgia. And I was sharing with him about my desire to make more money. And he said, why don't you come down here and sell Remax real estate franchises? And if you can sell them, we'll try to buy some territory. And I said, Howard, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I've never sold anything. You don't have a real estate license. And got 3 kids in college. And I'm thinking, but he's pretty wealthy. He probably put me on a nice salary or a nice draw. And I said, well, you got mine. He said, well, straight commission, and you pay your own expenses. So Betty and I started driving home. Not that I remember, but it was January 21st, 1986. And I said, honey, if we do that, we have to cash in everything we have. We have to cash in my retirement system, everything. And Betty said, let's go for it. 3 years later, we were millionaires. 2 18-month curves. And life took on, a thing of its own. So I went through that process. Now, here's what I've learned in working with people. So in 1994, I started working with people, is if you'll take care of those first 5, money will take care of itself. I don't know if you listen to country music. Anybody listen to country music? George Strait's got a great song. Write this down. So I'm going to tell you 3 things about money. And I agree with that lady in Hollywood. I forget who it was, Mae West or somebody said, I've been rich and I've been poor, and rich is better. Everything else being equal. But here's what I've learned about money. And that's why I never focus on money. 1, money's attracted, not pursued, by who you become in those first 5 areas. Who wants to hang around you? Who wants to associate with you? Who wants to invest in you? Who wants to be on your board of directors? Who wants you to co-author a book with them? I could just go on and on. So money's attracted, not pursued, by who you become. You focus on those first 5 areas. Number 2, money is just an amplifier. It just makes you more of what you already are. There's a guy not too terribly far from here that a few years ago won $250 million in the lottery. They put him on TV. They said, what's the first thing you're going to do? He said, I'm going to get me some teeth. He didn't have any teeth. He had $26 in the bank. Owed his buddy $200 for a pickup truck. Statistically, he's broke today. Probably, the odds are he's broke. Because money just makes you more of what you already are. It doesn't change you. It just amplifies where you are. And then the third thing, there's no correlation between money and happiness. There's no research. Doesn't make you happy, doesn't make you unhappy. It's going to make you more of what you already are. So my focus is always on those first 5. And so financial is there. Now, so I started studying successful people. And what differentiates, for example, my theory is about 85% of the people out there across the world are clueless. They just haven't figured it out. Not bad people, they're just clueless. About 15% have got it figured out. And you want to go to the next level. You want to be better. You want to learn more. You're 15%ers, you wouldn't be here this morning. And that's why I try to spend most of my time speaking to 15%ers. The 85%ers need a lot of help, but I just don't have the patience for that. So I want to differentiate. Why are these 15% different? Well, it could come from the same family. It could be totally, totally different. So came up with 6 things. These are 6 things it's kind of core of what I believe. Number 1, successful people, not in money. There's a lot of really successful people by definition that don't have any money. How about Mother Teresa? Remember the story that the guy spent a week with Mother Teresa watching her take care of the lepers, and he said, Mother Teresa, I wouldn't do this for $1 million. She said, I wouldn't either. So it's not about money. Money will take care of itself. So number 1, I think the differentiating factor of the 6 is these people are committed either consciously or subconsciously to being the best they can be. Here's what I say. I say we have a moral obligation, two moral obligations among others. One is we have a moral obligation to be the very best person we can be with the God-given talents that we're born with. How can I be better spiritually and my health and relationship and in those 5 areas? Second thing is I think we have a moral obligation to make a positive difference in every life that we touch. It could be as simple as a compliment. It could be as simple. We have 50 of us that are giving a $100 bill away to a total stranger every month. Touch their life, make a lot of, and there's a lot of other things we can do, like Opportunity International and other things that we can do. So they're committed to personal growth, becoming the best person they can become. 3 things that I ask people to read, 3 books. Power of Purpose by Richard Leder. In fact, if you get the ebook, he actually talks to you in the book. You click on the dot or arrow, talk to you. The Power of Intention, Wayne Dyer, written probably 30 or 40 books. And then The Power of Focus by Les Hewitt. It's actually Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen's name's on the book, but Les Hewitt from Calgary, Canada, actually wrote the book. And so we need to know what our purpose is. Why are you on this earth? Are you just a lucky sperm? Did you just happen to be in the right place at the right time? You get to live on this earth and live here and all the opportunities we have. And then what's your intention with that purpose? And then focus on the thing that you want to accomplish. All right. The second characteristic to differentiate people, I think successful people, these people are learners. They're readers. They're thirst for knowledge. One idea, well executed, change your life forever. A health idea, like we ought to drink a lot of water, shouldn't we, Dr. Robin? We ought to drink a lot of water. We ought to eat right. We ought to there's, one idea. 2 guys having breakfast, 1993. One of them said to the other, I'm going to write a book. Well, great. What's it going to be about? Well, it's just going to have stories in it. And the other guy said, well, I got a lot of stories. They teamed up in 1993. 33 publishers turned them down, said nobody will buy a stupid book like that. The 34th guy, Peter Vexo in Jupiter, Florida, said, well, I'll take a chance on you, but please, please sell enough books I get my money back. 250 million copies later. And now they've sold the right, Jack and Mark sold the right to an equity firm of some sort. Peter Vexo no longer has any interest in it. And so, Michelle and I, we could have written that book. They just gathered these stories. So one idea in any of the areas of life, change your life forever. Third characteristic, these successful people are networkers. They have a networking system. One person who's attracted to you because of who you become in those 5 areas, change your life forever. They came to me, to give you an example, and said, Tom, how would you like to co-author Chicken Soup for the Entrepreneurial Soul? I said, oh, I don't know. What do you got to do? And they said, nothing. I said, well, sign me up. I look like a good model. So we gathered stories. We had editors to edit the stories. The book publisher, Peter Vexo, published it. Bookstores sold it and sent me a check. That's a good business model. It really, really works. So one person, so I attracted Mark Victor Hansen into my life because who I'd become in those first 5 areas. So one person can change your life forever. A lady in St. Charles, Missouri called me and said, Tom, you need to meet Gary Baker. I didn't know Gary, never heard of him, never met him. And we met out at Donatelli's restaurant. And tell this in front of Gary. He wasn't crying, but he was pretty emotional. He said, Tom, I can't believe I'm meeting you. He said, I have all these financial clients that I'm working with, but they have more problems than finance. And you're working with a whole person. Gary, you changed my life forever. One person who's attracted you changed your life forever. Wow, what an impressive threesome. Anybody know who that is? John just came in. One person changed it, of course, Kim and John and Gary. All right, the fourth thing is principles. Understand the principles of success. The book that changed more lives than any other book outside the Bible, I think, in the last 100 years is Think and Grow Rich. It's Napoleon Hill. He said there's 13 principles. John Mark Templeton, the Templeton Fund, wrote a book, said there's 100 principles. There are probably 1,000, but successful people know the principles. But just knowing them isn't enough. Let me get back here. You got to have the discipline, and most people don't have the discipline. 70% of the people in America are overweight. Zig Ziglar said, I never, ever accidentally ate anything. So having the discipline in my life. And then the sixth characteristics is what I call OIMF, getting the odds in my favor. Wear your seatbelt. I told Betty in 1984, not a day will go by that I don't tell you how much I love you. And I've only missed a few days when I'm fishing in Canada. And then Betty likes to, she's what we call a owl, stay up late, get up late. And so every morning I fix her coffee and I take her coffee to her. Does that get the odds in my favor? There's lots of different ways. This book changed my life. If you haven't read it, Joseph Jaworski is the son of Leon Jaworski, the Watergate prosecutor. He was a big-time attorney in Houston, made a fortune in Alaskan oil. Betty Sue Flowers actually did the writing for him. And he said two things. It's about leadership and it's about quantum physics. And I know most of you are reading books every night on quantum physics, but he said if you understand these principles, you'll create predictable miracles. And I believe that. I've had so many miracles in my life. So that's a great book to read. Here's the best business book I've ever read. This guy's a real character. Felix Dennis. It's called How to Get Rich. His 8 principles in there are the best 8 principles I've ever encountered. So this is my favorite quote. Life is not a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in sideways, thoroughly worn out and loudly wow, what a ride. So that created in the Tom Hill Institute, and it's gone viral. Gary launched that at January 1st of this year. We've got 4,000 or 5,000 people already signed up. We've got groups meeting in Belfast, Ireland, and we're in like 13 or 14 countries. Because what Felix Dennis says, the key thing is forget the big idea, it's execution. You got to execute. So I'm going to close with a story, partially true. I was raised on a turkey farm, and they are stupid. They are so stupid. When a plane flies over, they think it's a hawk, and they pile up and smother, and they're just stupid. And so my dad raised 100,000. So one day I'm out there with these turkeys, and they're talking, and they're all excited. And I said, hey, what's going on? And they said, well, we were out here the other day talking how stupid we were, and an eagle flew over, and we said, wouldn't it be great if we could soar up there with the eagle instead of walking down here and be stupid? And so they called the eagle down, and they said, would you teach us to soar? And he said, you're in luck. I'm doing a seminar tomorrow right over here in this field. Love to have you come over and learn how to soar. So we all rushed over there the next morning, and for 3 hours, all that eagle did was taught us the principles of soaring. Bernoulli's principle, air passing over a curved surface, all the principles of soaring. 3 hours. We had to study those principles. We just stood there and studied the principles. And then we started practicing. We started the discipline, started practicing. And by 4 o'clock, we were up there above the clouds, above the trees. We were just so excited. We were with eagles. So we landed, gave him his $100, and we watched him sail off into the sunset. We were just so excited. I said, what'd you do then? They said, well, we walked home. So the moral of the story is, don't be a turkey. Hang around eagles. God bless you.